All right, first glitch. We're back.
We are good. I was double checking if SVP, IT, and digital performance and effectiveness at Common Spirit and Health sounds good.
Yes, it's a mouthful.
Okay, it's good. We got used to it. So we always have long titles, and I always like to make sure that the names are also spelled correctly and pronounced right. So I think we're good.
All right.
Are we?
Nariman, we're all set on the back end. I believe Lucas has the recording already up, so we are good to go.
We are ready. We are already set here. The recording already started, so good talk for you, girls.
Okay, so I'll do quick introductions and then we'll get started with the questions. Hi, everyone. This is Nariman Jamal from Avenue Code. I'm happy to have here on the panel today with me, Adrienne McDowell. She is the SVP, IT and Digital Performance and Effectiveness at Common Spirit Health. Welcome, Adrienne. And I also have Uliana Zilbermans, our CRO at Avenue Code. Welcome, Uliana. Thank you both for being a part of this Q&A session. I'd like to kick this off by asking Adrienne, you began your career journey as a registered nurse, and now you are an IT executive in the healthcare industry. Can you tell us a little bit more on how you got into tech?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have had an interesting path, maybe a little unconventional compared to most. But after graduating with my BSN degree, I had several different avenues that I took as a registered nurse, doing floor nursing within the walls of a hospital. I was a labor and delivery nurse, and very quickly moved into nursing administration. And I had this unplanned, very unplanned, I should say, but exciting leap into the tech side. And really, I would say it was in some cases like the best trick ever. And I called it a trick just because it was not intentional to stay into the tech track. I was more of a subject matter expert for some large EHR implementations, and it was supposed to be very temporary. But one thing led into another, and I found myself in the center of tech and not going back. So that was my kind of unconventional track into the tech side of healthcare. But I really feel that was an incredible time in my life. Like I said, it was unexpected, but it was also incredibly pivotal in my professional growth and development as a leader in terms of just diversifying my skills and diversifying my identity and diversifying my center of knowledge and expertise.
This is great. And they say once you go into tech, you never go back.
Yeah, I had people that said, "Oh, we're going to keep you in IT. You're never going to go back." And I said, "Absolutely not. I have no intention on staying here." But I loved it. It was like this tremendous world that I didn't know anything about until I entered it, and there were so many incredible doors that opened up. Some of them I had to knock on, others were just open, but it was a fantastic leap of faith, if you will, into the tech industry.
I'm very glad to hear that. And we're looking forward to hear more about your journey and getting into tech at the conference in October. Yeah. I'll move here to Uliana. Uli, you also have somewhat a non-traditional path to working in tech. And today you are Avenue Code's Chief Revenue Officer. Tell us a little bit more about your career journey.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see this series, picking up and having amazing ladies, telling their stories. But from my side, I was a journalist and I studied history, which has nothing to do with revenue generation. But when I came to San Francisco in 2003, I was fascinated with tech. Of course, the Silicon Valley, Bay Area, and everybody wanted to be in tech, doing something in tech. And I was like, okay, well, how is a journalist and the person who studied history will do anything in tech? So I decided to become a recruiter to learn everything about it. So I didn't have to be developer, engineer, but I wanted to learn all the lingo. And I also loved people. So for me, it was best way to really learn and, repeat what they said and make mistakes. But I had an amazing journey learning technology through recruiting. And then I became quickly a sales manager, account manager, and grew into this role today. So I'm very excited to be here.
Amazing. And I have to give credit to Uliana because she also got me into tech. I started my interests were in sales and business development, and I got to Avenue Code, and now I'm more and more interested in tech. So thank you, Uli. We need more role models like this out there. So talking about both of you getting into tech coming from a field into tech, I'd like to hear from you. What advice do you have for women who would like to see this transition? Or let's talk a little bit more in general. If someone is in a field and they want to transition into another field, what advice do you give them?
Well, from my side, what I was thinking is finding, for women especially, it's finding your voice and finding your passions. When you actually see what it is for me and digging deeper is what really excites me, motivates me. For me, it was people, talking to people and relating to my passions, technology and something that is exciting out there, and then pursuing it and being okay with making mistakes. Always when you start a new thing, it's very easy to say, I'm just learning it, I'm growing into it. And people really go above and beyond to help you, and then you become an expert. So I think that's advice: of follow your passion and find your voice in that area.
Great advice. Adrienne, anything you'd like to add here?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think that when many individuals look at their career path, they think of, the traditional sequence of a career. And, what I encourage people to really evaluate is, don't think of it as just this natural singular progression, but really think of it as a lattice. And I also encourage people to find their unicorn, right? What makes you unique? What are you drawn to? What are you naturally good at? What kind of gets your heart beating more so than other things? And really kind of begin a self-awareness journey to get clarity on what is truly meaningful to you, what truly motivates you. And once you've done that exploration and you've done that kind of self-awareness journey, I think it allows more opportunities to become available. Not necessarily the doors would become available, but I think that your awareness of what things are of interest would open up just more arcs of the possibility in terms of where your career can go. And so that's one thing, is just find your unicorn. I think another thing I encourage individuals to do, and this is something I did as well, is test the waters, right? Explore, get out of your box. You don't know what you don't know, and you won't unless you try. So I love the story of, starting as a journalist and moving into tech, or starting as a nurse and moving into tech. I mean, those are not necessarily paths that one would say, this is a clear path to progress. But the only way to get through either of those doors was to test the water. I think the third really great thing that I encourage individuals to do is strike connections with people of all different types and walks of life and all different industries. Really strike those connections, strike the conversations, explore, network, and learn. And then lastly, I think once you do those things, I think just be aware that you're really setting the example for others, right? Because there is not any one path to transition into tech or to transition into a different field. But it's really looking at individuals that have done that, understand their story, because I think that helps pave the way for others that are looking to enter this journey.
Absolutely. Another thing we're trying to focus on at our upcoming conference is women who got into tech sharing their stories, and talk a little bit more about what they went through and who influenced them also during this transition. So Adrienne, you are leading enterprise transformation at one of the nation's largest healthcare systems. What are the biggest innovation opportunities you are seeing right now?
Well, it's interesting because we're in this era where every single place you look, in every nook and cranny, technology is there, right? Technology is absolutely in front of us. And when we think about healthcare, which is a space I'm in, traditionally healthcare is kind of behind the 8 ball a bit. And I think right now where we are at this moment, all tech giants, big and small, are getting involved in the healthcare sector, right? And really pushing the envelope and innovating in spaces that is really changing healthcare as we know it. It's making it more consumer focused. it's really internet penetration. It's as the middle class has grown, the age of the population has changed, but people are expecting the digital era in how they do business with healthcare. And so I think that as we look at where innovation is really going to be incubated, it's really looking at medicine, telehealth, smart technologies, smartphone sensors, mobile apps, cloud storage, robotics, all these different things is where we're really going to see a lot of pioneering occurring that are influencing the healthcare space specifically. But outside of all of the technology, I would say where we should be focusing from an innovation perspective is on the people, right? It's on the people. The technology is not going to invent itself. People are really at the forefront of those strategic conversations. And I think we need to be really thoughtful and out of the box when we think about how are we taking care of people? How are we inspiring people? How are we creating cultures where our people are able to innovate technologies? And really that is the space that I feel we need to double down and really focus around. When we think about innovation, it's not just technology advancement. Innovation is taking care of our people and how we're striking those conversations and putting them front and center.
You're right. And this is across different industries, right, that are getting more into tech and innovation. I want to move here to Ilyana. We know that you have been constantly speaking to executives in IT and business around the world, most recently for our Leaders in Studio video podcast that has taken you to Brazil, Middle East, Canada, US, and Europe too. So can you tell us a little bit about the common topics and concerns that you've heard from leaders across different industries, and how are they handling these concerns or topics?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I've discovered is leadership is universal. That's number one. And we live in such unique times when the world have never been so interconnected like before. The whole world lived through pandemic, and the world was shut down at the same time. That we've never seen this. So, and I'm a person of opportunity, so I always see what is an opportunity to see from the pandemic. And what Adrienne said about the people, it's everybody's number one concern. It's people's well-being, and it's authenticity. It's being really empathetic to their lives, but also seeing opportunities, because now there is a land of opportunities everywhere. You look at the world, it's so flat at the moment, Middle East, and then Brazil, and then Portugal, Europe. I talk to people in Europe every morning on Zoom and Skype, and before it wasn't possible. Before it was, you have to go there and travel and meet them in person, but we see now world completely differently. And the same thing with leaders. The leaders are so unique, but they also have the strengths and the qualities that are very similar. Like how do you lead to be inspiring leader? How do you lead with empathy? How do you really create the culture, and especially with new things that is, even harder for you to do it remotely. But that's the number one concern from every single leader that I've spoke to before. Also, agility and ability to adapt quickly. Like this pandemic taught us a lot on how the leaders really take the opportunity and bring it to the team and talk to every person and become really vulnerable with them. Because before, leadership was a little bit more, let me lead by example, but now it's also let me lead with empathy. So that's what I've noticed. Yeah, so of course it's a lot about technology innovation, but as Adrienne said, it's people first. And how do you create a remote culture that is important and great? There's new unique geos that are coming out that are like tech hubs, like Portugal have islands with Wi-Fi where you can live there and have a remote workforce. Like you look at companies here that are opening, the remote only opportunities. So you can travel to Europe, you can live there for 3 to 6 months, you can be there indefinitely, creating a culture of balance, like the work becomes your home and there's no, separation. So creating a culture, I think it's so exciting to see that every single country is picking up, and people who are so against the, the remote opportunities now embracing it. So new countries like in Africa, they're becoming new tech hubs where you've never seen this before. But it's really exciting to see this shift and changes in technology.
Truly exciting. And thinking about the whole world being open, being able to speak to anyone around this world and creating a relationship as well. I want to transition a little bit into our upcoming conference, Extraordinary Women in Tech. And Adrienne, you will be one of the speakers that we're very honored to have you on the panel as well. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek of your talk at Extraordinary Women in Tech and what excites you about this conference?
Yeah, well, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. I think you probably are getting a sense of where my passion is.
Yes.
I mean, clearly in this space, talent is not a game, talent is the game. And, I think that we have really, as a industry, need to double down on what that means. So I will be talking about why talent is a game, how to make talent the game, and really a talent transformation journey that many leaders, I think, especially women in tech, can really model after and even be able to take to a whole nother level. But it's really around transforming and optimizing the operating model. Really, how are we building programs that are attracting the right people in the right place at the right time in the right location? Really focusing on diversity and being digitally astute and mission focused and all of those are great things that allow organizations to truly succeed. Another component of this is really making sure that we're not just looking at the tech teams, but the entire industry at large, and really increasing the digital aptitude and mindset of all of our business leaders, not just within tech specifically, but with all of those business stakeholders and leaders that we engage with. And really optimizing for scale through transformation change levers, really thinking about organizational health, capacity management, sourcing strategies, location footprint, centralization of select services, and how we do that with people truly at the core of what we do and why we do it. It's so easy, I think, in today's fast-paced environment to just get lost behind the box, right? We're lost behind the Zoom box, and it's a very flat effect, if you will. And we are losing sight that we have passion, we have hearts, we have people with families, and there's things behind the blue screen that organizations and industries really need to put at the forefront of how we do business and why we do business, and making sure that we're truly nurturing those individuals. So my focus will be, again, on talent being the game, and some transformational journey components that make that successful.
Super exciting. I can't wait for the conference. So I'm sure all the attendees are looking forward to it soon. Liana, EWiT is actually your brainchild, and we're very happy that you came up with this idea and you started this community. So I want to ask you, what inspired you to start it? And what do you enjoy the most about these conversations that we have with executives, women in tech, and how do you anticipate to, translating this in our in-person conference?
Absolutely. I think it's so dear and dear to my heart because when I've been in IT industry and I've been going through 15 years, meeting a lot of IT leaders and executives, 99, maybe 90% were all male executives. And it was so hard to find role models, leadership, like when you are starting your career, you want to find a female leader that you want to be inspired by. And today I work with so many incredible women, and I want to give other people and other women this platform, because without that, it's very hard to, network and navigate your way through the tech career. So that's what got me inspired. But today, everybody's talking about diversity and inclusion, which is great. So people supporting the movement, but we're still far, far away from actually having the balanced world. And this platform can give someone, a person who just starting their career, a platform, a role model, somebody that they can be inspired by. These stories that we share, somebody who can actually jump and, leap of faith and change the career to tech, but also fighting and finding their voice in their tech career and becoming the leaders that they are. So inspiration, and that's what I want from this conference, but also creating the network where all women can talk to each other, be free to share that they're balancing lives, they have kids, they have families, they want to travel, they want to have passions, but also lead teams with that empathy, which is so important in today's world. So I think I summarized it.
You have, and truly inspiring, both of you, Liana and Adrienne. Thank you so much for your time today. We like to give a little bit of sneak peek for our audience to know who's coming to the conference and what topics will be discussed. So I'm very glad we got the chance to have both of you speak and give a little bit more of information about your journey, background, what inspires you, and what you're seeing out there in the market. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you in October.
I have a question for both of you, actually. And I don't know if you can cut that, but I wanted to ask Adrienne and Nariman, who inspired you? What woman inspired you in your background, and who actually made you the woman you are today? And yes, it could be your mom, but also like maybe a person in the industry that you actually are so admired and inspired by.
Yeah. I think that when I think about inspiration, I grew up looking around at such a male-dominated business world, right? And my mother stayed at home, my grandmother, everyone that I knew, the women figures of my life were not working women, but they were very smart and capable women that could have. And I think what fueled me very early on is recognizing that I had these strong women in my life, but yet none of them worked. And why? None of them worked in a professional landscape. And the question was why for me? And I think more so than a singular person now that's inspired me, it was more of that kind of, it just is a vivid memory in my mind. Just watching my family, which was most entrepreneurs, male dominant, of course, always, encouraged me to be at the table, even from a young child, starting at the age of 12. I think I was working in my father's store. But I always looked around at the women figures in my family and in my life, and I just questioned why were none of them at the table, and that really bothered me. And so I kind of set out this agenda from very early on as a girl that said, I am not going to be that. I'm not going to be that. I am going to be at the table and a co-contributor, a co-creator, to really do whatever I want to do. And at that point, I didn't know exactly what that was. I went into nursing school because I wanted to help others. And I quickly went into leadership and hospital administration. And now I am where I am. But I think that for me, it was not a singular woman that inspired me. It was the woman not at the table that inspired me.
No,
I don't know if that sounds strange.
No, actually what I'm hearing is that you broke through the stereotypes, and you are the one that you wanted to inspire others. And since nobody was there, you wanted to show a little example, but also your passion is like, I'm gonna be the one, right, breaking through, which is so.
And that probably, is like, my personality from a young child was, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. So yes, I think maybe that was a compelling factor. But there's amazing women in the ranks. There's amazing strength and amazing, powerful women in professional industries, and just amazing women that even maybe aren't in professional industries, but they're still strong, purposeful, big thinkers, encouraging women. And I think in our world, and perhaps this was my career back in the nursing days, but unfortunately, what I also witnessed once I got into some leadership level roles as a woman is many women eat women for lunch. It's not as encouraging as one would think. Women are generally seen as nurturers, but what I saw is not all women want to see other women succeed. Not all women really want to encourage and bring other women along the way. And, for me, that's another, I think, defining kind of breakthrough moment is I don't want to be that either. I want a seat at the table, but I want to bring all the other women along with me that are wanting that seat and that are capable to have that seat and that are motivated and energetic to have that seat. So I think it's two parts for me. It's one part just, stopping some of that behavior that unfortunately I've seen, and really promoting women to continue to seek whatever dreams that they have.
That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you, Adrienne.
As one of our CIOs said, there should be a sisterhood among women, helping each other,
Yeah.
pushing each other, mentoring, trying to see how they can refer maybe. It was very nice to see a lot of our speakers referring other women who can bring a lot of value to the panel. Liana, I think what influenced me the most, I have to give credit for my mom, because my mom was the only woman between my mother's and father's families who worked. And she worked because eventually she was a single mom and everyone was against what she was doing. She ended up being head of a whole department at a hospital. She was a great idol. And she always said two things to me. She's like, never let anyone tell you what you should do. If you think you can't do something, then that's okay. But don't ever let someone tell you can't do something. And I always had like this, support in my back that I can do anything if my mom says something else. So mom has always been in the picture. I had a professor in college. I studied political science too, and I took a course for women in politics. So it was all stories about women. It was really fascinating. And the professor kept saying, women can do anything in any industry. It's just, we need to stop this blocker that they face when they're about to accomplish something. A lot of people stand in their way. So I'm like, yeah, reading all these success stories really gave me a push out of college to think that I studied political science, but I don't want to work in politics. I want to do business development and work with a lot of different people from different industries. And luckily, I had really nice and really good leaders along this journey that encouraged me to do this. And this is sisterhood, or this is really good mentors and coaches and leaders, I would say. So it's a lot of people that we come across that leads to where we are today.
I love that, sisterhood.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I got really inspired, and I agree. For me, it was my mother as well. Like it's hard to find someone in the world that is so, strong and powerful, and also, so much energy. So like for me, I took the energy and unstoppable force. So I think that's what made me who I am too.
Very inspiring. Very nice. Before we all get too emotional, we'll stop here. But thank you. Thank you for your time, Adrienne, Oliana. Anna and Lucas, is there anything that we need to repeat or do, or are we all set here?
Perfect here. The recording was great.
Awesome. Anna, anything from your end?
On my end, it was great too. Thank you so much. So I would love to, in addition to having this as a podcast, turn this into a written interview. So Adrienne, if you're okay with that, I will, of course, send you the transcript of everything before anything is published or goes live, and same with you, Uli and Nariman. But I would love to just throw that out there as an idea, because I think it would be valuable as a piece for our blog as well as a podcast.